What's up, self-healers? Lisa Lightfeather here. Welcome to my channel, Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. Today, I want to come on and speak about a topic that's really difficult for me to try to explain. I've held off on this topic because I just don't quite know how to word it, but I'll do my best here today. So I want to speak on the topic of the narcissist or the borderline personality disorder and doing something referred to as switching. And so what happens is that it can be mistaken for like multiple personality disorder, because when they switch from one thing to the other. It's as different as day and night. And so you're either all good, right? Or you are just all bad. There's no in between, there's no gray areas. It's just black and white. And when this happens, the empath can be quite confused because it's like, what just happened? Like you don't know. So these things can be triggered by a perceived threat to the ego, right? It's perceived. There's no real threat, but they perceive a threat to the ego. Or it can be triggered by the threat of the loss of supply. I'm getting ready to go. It's like there's a threat of loss of supply. There's an internal conflict going on with the narcissist, and it stems from possibly childhood, where they have been abandoned, where they perceive that they've been abandoned, or they have been abused in some way. And so it's like this it's like this extreme PTSD that has never been tapped into. Right? That they've never done anything about it. So now don't get me wrong. It's not like PTSD where you can go get therapy for it. Now they have therapy for people who switch, but don't get your hopes up high that something's going to change. Right? So they can do things like switch from grandiose to really vulnerable to, they can be like very emotional with you and very engaged with you to just switching to complete silence, like the silent treatment. They can do things like they'll be happy one minute and then the next minute they're just upset. So it's, unless you've witnessed it, you really can't grasp what it is. But if you witnessed it and you don't know what's happening, this is what this video is today, is to give you confirmation that you did see what you saw. Right? Because it can be freaking confusing. So there's a sudden change in mood or behavior or personality, and very often without warning. And they can do it to manipulate, to control, to protect the false self, to protect the fragile ego of the narcissist or the borderline personality disorder. And so a lot of times they will revert back into childhood. So an example of this was years ago, and I was at the beach, and I was visiting with my son. I had my son for the weekend, and I was at the beach with him, and we had all the kids there, and family was there and everything, and I was really enjoying that space. The ocean is my safe space, and on the inside we had a big water park, and so we were having a good time. The adults were doing their thing, and the children were doing their thing, but my attention was mainly on my son. I was just so happy to have him in my presence. And I brought this jackass with me, right? And we had been dating, and I brought him with me. I thought, oh, this will be a good time. Maybe he can, meet my family, whatever. Now, he lived in another state, so another state. And so he would travel back and forth between North Carolina and Virginia, right? Was it North Carolina? Anyways, he lived about an hour away. And so he would travel. So I didn't see him all the time. So I didn't catch this personality thing that he had going on. But we went to the beach, and I'm loving on my son and having a good time. And all of a sudden, he was fine. But then I started picking up on things that he was jealous of my son. And so at this point, it's like, okay, I can't really do nothing about it at this point, but he was jealous of my son. And all of a sudden he switched. He was standing here to my right, and he was just, we were all laughing and joking. And all of a sudden he looked at me and said, "You're evil," like in the most demonic voice. And I was like, what? where did that come from? I'm like, what, he switched on me. But it was probably one of the first times that I caught it, that I saw this type of behavior. So this behavior can be very confusing to the empath, because you don't get the whole you're all good or you're all bad dynamic. It's like there's no gray area. It's either black or white with these people. And so they have a sudden change. They can switch from being very kind to cruel, like he did in that situation. They can switch from being very charming and polite to just rage. Like if you don't respond the way that they want you to respond, to give them back that narcissistic feed in a situation, they can try to be nice to you. They can say, here, I brought you these roses. And then you might say, oh, thank you so much. Gosh, I'm allergic to roses. I'm so sorry. And then they just go into rage, because it's a perceived rejection. It's something that the empath isn't even thinking twice about. They're just kind of, speaking their truth or expressing themselves in the moment. And the narcissist can take that as perceived rejection or disrespect or something like that. So a lot of times what they do is they revert back into childhood, And so in the situation with my son, this narcissist had reverted back into childhood. The mother probably triangulated the children when they were smaller, and one was all good and one was all bad. And so me loving on my son triggered something in him of the all good child, and reminding him that as a child, he was the all bad child. And so all of a sudden, I went from being his girlfriend to being his mother. Yeah. And so he projected that anger onto me. And I'm just sitting there like, what the hell? They can switch into weird places too. Like they might switch in the bedroom. Like, you're thinking that everything's good and this is adult fun, adult spending quality time together or whatever, and they can switch into something quite dark. Like they can switch into like being abusive in the bed, or doing something demonic, and you're just like you're no more vulnerable than that, right? So they can switch like that. I've experienced people switching who had been abused with racism as a child. So they were raised in an era where segregation and things of that were still in abundance, and so they had traumatic abuse when it came to racism and who they were as a man of color, and they'll switch into this abused little boy. Like I've seen one crouch in the corner, and this was crazy. Hey, why don't you come over? Why don't you come over and spend some time? So, yeah, sure, great, sounds good to me. Grab my overnight bag, go over there, and when I walk in and I have my little bag with me, they switched into this abused little boy who had experienced racism. And yes, ma, let me get your bag. Yes, yes, yes. I mean, it was just, and it's real. It's real. They're not acting. They actually go into this alternate personality, and for them in that moment, it is just the realest thing ever. Yeah. So this topic is really kind of hard to explain, and I've actually put it off talking about it. Now I wanted to talk about it because it's something that happens, that if you're in this situation or if you've seen it before, you may not know what's going on. But it's the split, the fragmented, wounded inner child. It's fragmented. And any part of that fragment can come out at any time. If they fear abandonment, they will react to that. Another example is, most doors have locks on them, right? 2 or 3 locks on them, but you can only open 2 locks from the outside. And so a narcissist or a borderline personality disorder, they have a key to your house. This could be anybody, not somebody you're dating, but it could be anybody, a family member or whatever. They have a key to your house. And so you're like just doing what you normally do, locking the 3 locks. It's like unconscious, right? And then they come to the house later and they unlock the 2 locks, but then that 3rd lock, they can't open the door. Now, when they left the house, they were happy. Everything was fine. You guys were good. But when they come back and they can't open that door, it is a perceived abandonment. And so when you go, oh, wait a minute, let me go get the door, and you open the door, when you open the door, there's a demon standing there. You're like, what's up? What happened? March by you and go slam the door and go into their room. Because any little change in your behavior can trigger something in the people with this disorder. It can trigger them. And so it's like you have to walk on eggshells with them, because if they perceive abandonment, rejection, disrespect, anything, they can switch on you. And you in the room with one person, and a second later, you're in the room with someone else. It can be quite scary. You can actually see the switch in their face. You can see the change in their face, because their face will go from one expression to another. And you're just like, what just happened? It is the most confusing thing ever. So if you've experienced this switching, you're not seeing things. It's not in your head. They literally do this. Yeah. Like I said, for me, this was a complicated topic. It was something that I found difficult to explain, but I hope that I've done a well enough job for you to understand what switching is. Yeah, so if you've seen it, you're not crazy. They do this. Yeah. Well, that's all I have for you today here on Closing the Gap. We make a conscious effort to meet you where you're at on your healing and your spiritual journey. If you like my content, please don't forget to like and subscribe, maybe leave a comment. If you're really feeling my vibe, hit the bell notification so that you know the next time that I upload. Thank you for tuning in to Closing the Gap, and we'll see you next time.